record. Okay. Oh, I always forget that. Okay. So we're recording. So I'm bringing on Alexandra Renders, and she is a channel, an economic intuitive, a healer, and the founder and CEO of Willow. And this is a certified B-Corp and a designated WBE, which is women-based enterprise investment firm. And just a few firms with this particular distinction in the USA. As a chief investment officer and strategist, Alexandra is known for her keen intuitive calls around thematic trends and market cycles. And I think she's going to tell us about all of that. Particularly, she is adept in predicting and understanding trends. And this is the foundation of her work that has allowed her to avoid the carnage of the tech bubble, the financial crisis, and what she deems today as the most life-transforming economic crisis to come. So with 36 years of experience in the investment industry and holding executive and senior positions on and off Wall Street, she is quite adept at what she does. She is the founder also of a bi-weekly newsletter called The Economic Intuitive, and it's set to launch this summer. She is actually also, I'm just going to let somebody else in.
You can leave it open too, the room, if you know how to do that.
Yeah, no, I don't know how to do
it.
No, I haven't done it.
Okay.
I'm not usually on that end. On this end, I'll say. But I'm learning, and it's a lot. So
I can tell you how to do it when you're done. So.
Okay.
Yes.
So in December of 2012, Alexandra wrote a piece that accurately predicted the direction of not only the economy, but the social structure of humanity. So she has been channeling divine beings called the Willow Beings for her entire life. And she connects with Elohim, who she shares insight and wisdom in transforming people's journey. Wow. Welcome, Alexandra. It is just an amazing pleasure to have you and to share your wonderful insight with people tonight. We will be recording this. It'll be going out to a lot of folks. I want to just mention, I met Alexandra at an expo a little time ago. No, it could be 2 years now, whenever. And I got to know her a little bit more when she came for soul regression. And that really kind of opens things up and lets me know who people are. And when I really got to know her, I thought, this woman, she knows her stuff. I just could feel it. And so I'm super happy to share her with you. And I'm just going to say, go on, Alexandra. What is it that you would like to share with us about economics and financial advice?
Okay, I'll share that. But do you want me to tell you how to disengage your
yeah, sure.
your waiting room? Okay, hold on 1 second. I'll tell you exactly.
All right.
Let me see if I can find it. Instead of yeah, it will be, hold on. Of course, it's you know what? Because I'm not the host, I can't tell you how to do it.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so you'll just keep looking. Okay.
Yeah.
So the first thing I need to do, everyone, is I just need to read my disclaimer because I am a SEC registered investment advisor. So I do have some compliance rules and regulations I have to pay attention to. So hold on to me while I get to my little script of my disclaimer. Okay, here we go. So the material in this presentation has been prepared by ADCM LLC DBA Willow, and it is a general background information about Willow's activities current as of the date of this presentation. This information is given in summary form and does not purport to be complete. Information in this presentation should not be considered as advice or a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any security or investment. Neither the information nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes an offer or a solicitation of an offer to buy or sell securities. Before acting on any information, you should seek independent financial advice. All securities and financial products involve risk. While due care has been used in the preparation of this presentation, the information contained herein has been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but its accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Forecasts and hypothetical examples are subject to uncertainty and contingencies outside of Willow's control. Past performance is not a reliable prediction and indication of future performance. Thank you for bearing with me on that one.
And now that we got that out of the
Now
way.
that we got that out of the way.
Yeah.
So what I want to talk about first is I want to talk about some of the broader themes that I've seen for a number of years. So understand that what we're seeing today is not an overnight phenomenon. It's been something that has been in the works. I've been in the industry 36 years. It has been in the works, frankly, since as long as I can remember. Easily, once I was in this industry for 6 years, I started really noting some things that often made me scratch my head and made me say, why are they doing this? If I'm a greenhorn, and at that time I was a greenhorn, only 6 years in the industry, and I'm questioning some of the policies they're putting in place, surely these smart people who are putting in the policies know what they're doing and why they're doing it. So I want to talk a little bit, like the way I say is like we're slow boiling frogs, right? And slow boiling frogs, you put a frog in a pot of water. It's cold, you turn up the heat, it goes to boil, they don't sense the heat, so they don't jump out. So in this essence, that's really what's been happening to us. And I hate to use that analogy, but it is absolutely what I see has been happening. So let me talk to you about a couple of the broader themes. Let's first start with something that I think will be number one, is the standard of living will, and as you can see, has gone down and will continue to go down for a number of reasons. One, policies have been put in place essentially that have made it harder for smaller businesses the taxes basically are going up for smaller businesses. So what you're seeing little by little is the big is getting bigger. So the gap between those who have and those who don't is widening. Now, why is that happening? If you look in any government around the globe, when you start to see, I don't want to call it totalitarianism, but it's getting pretty close to that. I don't know any other way to say it. That way of being, you see that there's always this separation. So how does that affect you? Well, obviously, what's happening is the poor are getting poorer, the rich are getting richer, and I'm talking very rich. So what I see happening is there's going to be more oligopolies and oligarchs. Oligarchs those are the individuals who have more, and oligopolies are companies that consolidate, so that there are fewer players in each industry. You see that a perfect example of this today is the HMO industry, the health insurance industry. They have so much pricing power, you guys. They have so much influence on Washington that you can see there are certain states like the one that I live in, you have to have this insurance or you get taxed, okay? So that is a perfect example of an industry that's an oligopoly. And you can see, for many of you who are older, you can see that over the decades, how much more expensive health insurance has become and how little you get for what you're buying. So that is a perfect example. Now, what I see is what we see in the bank, where I'm getting a lot of questions right now about the banking industry. Now, I do believe the Fed is raising rates, right? And I believe if they do not stop raising rates, like if it's obvious to me that the bow is going to break, it's certainly obvious to them. So if they raise interest rates again, it is my belief that it's intentional to break the system. And a perfect example, I'm very forward. I hope everyone is okay with this. I can't help myself. When I see these things, I have to say it. So the Silicon Valley Bank, for example, when it blew up, It blew up for a lot of reasons. They took too much risk. They really should be behind bars. This is my opinion, because there was a lot going on there that should not have been going on. But besides the point, with the Fed raising rates, it's putting a lot of pressure on these banks that didn't prepare for this. So what I think is happening is, if the Fed were to continue to raise rates, then what I think we're going to see is more banks failing. Now, what you're seeing right now is something called the Senior Loan Survey. The Senior Loan Survey is a survey that shows all the senior, like a good sampling of senior loan surveys across the country, and how they're seeing credit. Now, you have to understand something. If I'm losing you guys, please slow me down, Laurie, at any point in time, please, okay? What happens is, you must understand, is credit is the oil. It's the oil to the engine. And without oil in the engine, what happens? It ceases, right? It ceases to go on. So credit, with interest rates very low, what happens is credit stays available in the system. As they increase interest rates, credit starts to freeze and the engine freezes. So what you're seeing with this senior loan survey across the country is they are starting to tighten their loans. This is incredible. If you only knew, these big investors like Pershing Square, which is like, I think the third largest private equity fund in this country, cannot get a loan to do a large commercial real estate project. They are having a hard time getting a loan. So what's happening is credit is freezing. Now, with credit freezing, now what will happen is you will start to see more layoffs. When you start to see more layoffs, you will start to see people start to lose their homes and lose their jobs and lose their income, okay? What happens in an environment like this is there will be banks that fail. Then what happens? A JP Morgan, a Goldman Sachs, a larger Bank of America can come in and buy that bank at a dime on a dollar. So what I think is happening here is there's this massive consolidation now. Back to my, this is, slow me down if you need to, back to my oligopolies being created. So the question is this intentional? I hate to tell you, I think it is. Okay. I can't help myself.
I'm not thinking I'm not thinking that anybody is not thinking that way. I think we are kind of all on board and seeing the, the light.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, the other thing is what I want to talk about. So that's the oligopolies. Now, that's a big deal for us, because what happens when oligopolies are created is they begin to have pricing power. And you see that, that's why I gave you the example of health insurance. I don't think anyone in this room could disagree that that's a mess and getting worse, right? So with this happening, you will start to see it's going to be harder for us to bank. Truly, we're going to start to see more fees come in. They have a long way to go, because that sector, there's a lot of banks throughout this country, but it's, if we do start to see something happen, it is going to be a domino effect, and it would be significant. So now let me just ask you,
is there a way to stop this from happening? I think people would like to see this stop, but we understand that the big banks, or who's controlling everything, they have so much power, it's almost unstoppable probably at this point. But is there a way to kind of,
this is such a good question. Yeah, so I just want to share something, Laurie, that I think is really important. In 2012, you spoke to the piece I wrote in 2012. In 2012, I would go every year away to a monastery and go for 3 days straight without food, just a little bit of water, and I would completely seclude myself, and I would just channel write the whole weekend. And I did that once a year, every year. And in that particular year, 2012, that is when Sandy Hook happened. And it was that Friday I happened to go away, and I channel wrote, and what I channeled wrote was humanity had an opportunity to change the direction of our course. However, as a collective consciousness, we have made a choice. Our leaders made a choice for us
Mm.
to learn the hard way. So the question is there something that can be done? What I learned from that, what that piece that I wrote in 2012, it was dark. It predicted everything that we see. I won't even go into what I see in the future because it's not, I can't even. What I can tell you is what I learned from that is that it is about raising our own consciousness through doing our own inner work. And that raising our own vibration and moving into that love, that place of love deeper within ourselves. That was my quest since 2012, since I wrote that. That's where I sit finally today within myself, but it took a lot of work to get there. And for it to truly change, I know this is an economic person who's saying this, but for it to truly change, we have to go into that vibration of love. And yes, can it change? In this regard, it can. The collective has, and it can't be a few, because you see, if it's a few, it gets coined conspiracy theory, and you know how this all goes. It has to be in mass where people say no to this. And that could be calling your senator, showing, I'm not one to demonstrate because that's not my thing, but literally going to your congresspeople and saying, no, this is not acceptable behavior. But it has to be in mass. It can't be, just a few of us speaking out about these things. It has to be a much. So with that, I always encourage people to call and write their congresspeople about something they don't agree with. Pay attention. One of the most important things, pay attention to the bills. Don't listen to the news. Turn off the radio. Don't read the newspaper. Read the bills themselves, and educate yourself. That's a really important thing. And start calling your senators to tell them what you need and want. Also, I feel like as it relates to banking, support your local banks, not these big banks. I think that's really important. I'm big into credit unions. I like credit unions. I like mutual banks, so those are always good options for people. I think at this point in time, if I can give you all some recommendations, make sure you are under that 250,000 FDIC threshold. The other thing that I want to point out is that if you have a brokerage account, it is very important for you to know the type of money market that you are in. I want you to know this. This is very important. If you have several money markets, which is where you park your money until you invest it in a particular area, if you have several to choose from, and this one is giving you a higher interest rate than this one, please understand 99% of the time, it's because it represents higher risk. Nothing is for free. Okay. I just want to impress that upon you. Now, so far there's that. So in 2017, I think it was 1716, a new law was passed. And this new law said that the government will only backstop money markets that are in government securities. Now, let me explain to you what this means. In the financial crisis in 2008, many money markets broke the buck. What that means is one in, one out. It's like when you go to a bank, I put $100 in, I get $100 out, right? You expect that. That's what you expect when you have your money in a money market. It's safe, right? Well, you must understand, if it is not prime money market, if prime is only in government-backed securities, it can break the buck, and the government will not backstop it like it did in 2007. That's the law they wrote. So I suggest that you look at your money market on all of your broker-dealer statements to make sure that you are in prime, meaning you are in government securities. I hope that helps. Does that help? Okay. So, all right. Did I answer your question, Laurie?
Yeah, I think you did.
Okay. I did the best I could.
And with one question answered, there's probably 5 more that follow.
That's fine. I have no issue with that. So I started out by saying that the standard of living is coming down, and let me explain to you what I see happening there. So for many years, and I'm going to show you all a chart, if I may, just let me get to it. See if I can get this. So bear with me. Machine, keep that. Let's see, that's the index. Okay. All right. Laurie, is there any way that I can take the reins so that I can show a slide to
Oh,
everyone?
that's a good question. I don't know how you.
Okay, I can tell you how to, that I can at least tell you how to do.
Go ahead.
So you would click on my name and you would see that there are 3 dots. If you click on my name.
3 dots. I'm not seeing 3
Over
dots.
to the right-hand side.
Yeah, I see
Or
more,
you,
but I
or
don't
you
see
can,
3 dots.
can you right click on my name?
Let me see. No, it's not going to let me.
It's not gonna let you? Shoot.
Yeah.
Shoot. Okay, I really wanted to show everybody this. I'm a big visual person, especially when it comes to kind of boring subjects like this or like data and things like that. I'm trying to think of how I wish I could. You can't right click on my name, huh? I don't know any.
I can make you a host.
There you go. Make me a host.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, that's what I was wanting you to do.
Okay, gotcha. You're the host.
I am now the host. Okay, fantastic. Hold on one second. I'm going to share my screen with you. Let's see. This is the screen I want to share. All right. Can everyone see this okay? I think so, right? Okay, perfect. Thank you. So what this shows you, there's the CPI number that we get from the government every month. That's the consumer price index. And we see that every month, and every month it's showing 2% and this and that. Like every single month, it's always hovering around a certain level, 2% until recently. So we follow something called shadow statistics, and shadow statistics is something, I want to say it was a Goldman Sachs executive who, or, analyst who said, they're playing with CPI. I'm going to do my own. Understand that CPI, the Consumer Price Index, reported out of the, I think it's the Labor Department, but yeah, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They changed the basket that belongs in that index when it becomes convenient. So in other words, let's say in 1980, they had, prime rib and in there, but prime rib started to go higher in price. So they said, okay, well, let's swap out prime rib for sirloin, and that went too high. So they swapped that out for ground beef, and then that went too high. So they swapped it out for like slime. I don't know, something different. Okay. So every year, they started swapping out the basket of goods as prices increased. So what that did was it showed a more benign inflation. So this red line you see here, this is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics right here. So you can see it's always hovering around that 2% mark. Okay. So let me see if I can show you. There's a better way. Let's get this. Yeah. So this one's let's take a better look here. So this is just hovering around that 2% mark. You can see here, it's nice and low. What this company did was they said, well, wait a second, let's look at what inflation really is based on reality. Because for example, you know how you pay, like anything now, they have you have the fee that you pay. And then you also have, like for your drivers, it's like tolls, for example, or now we have lots of fees for certain things, like on your utility bill, they break it out now by this fee, that fee, this fee, okay? This takes into account all of that. So you can see this blue line here is more indicative of what we're really experiencing in inflation. So that's actually been running at 10%, 14, 15% for a number of years. So it's not this benign inflation. And I think most of us who live in the real world know that it's not been benign inflation for 10, 15, 20 years at all. So this number here, 10, 15, 20, 10, not 20%, but 15% or 14% is where we think we've been running for a long time. You can see this big spike here. Now the Fed is like, we ran up around 5, 6, 7%. And the Fed said, okay, let's raise interest rates. Great. Now, what happens is we are in a period of what I consider, and I'm going to stop sharing now because this is done. I think we're in a period of what I call reverse stagflation. And what that means is slower growth, slower economic growth, because the truth is we're already in a recession. It's already there. You can ask anybody who's below a certain level, like in terms of their socioeconomic status, it's already a recession. And actually, if you look at the numbers, it officially really is already a recession, but they're not claiming it. I don't know why, but 2 quarters of negative GDP is a recession. We've already had 3. So I don't know, whatever. I call that gaslighting. So anyway, what happens is in a reverse stagflationary environment, you have underperformance, sub-employment, so less employment, or you have to have 2 jobs to make up for 1 job, okay? And your price for necessities goes higher. Health insurance, car insurance, home insurance, you notice you're almost double-digit increase in your home insurance, you notice that? Food, gas, even though, gas has come down from, let's say, February, March of last year, 22, it's still, the base is still high. This is the point that I'm saying, the slow boiling frogs, right? It went really high. Now they brought it up to down to about 3 something. And you're like, oh, phew, only for that now to be the new baseline. Okay. So now what we're seeing is new baselines being brought up. And it's always about the necessities. So so the Fed could raise rates until the cows come home, but it will not change the necessities because you need food, you need shelter.
So Alexandra, what can people do as a result of? How long do you see this happening for? What takes place to change it, let's say?
Yeah. So that there's this is what frustrates me. This is all, by the way, because of policy. This isn't because of economic changes and no, this is all based on policy that's been created, in my opinion. Okay, if you look over time. So what I suggest for you is to honestly, to start to look at your life and start thinking simplistically. Really, where do you spend money unnecessarily? I know this is like a different thing for people to talk about that are investment people, because they just want to suck you into the market and be done. But I'm not that type of person. I'm so practical. Look at other ways that you can invest your money. For example, can you put solar on your home? Because solar will give you a return. I have solar easily. It's giving me a 20% return now, easily. I paid for the system and then some, because I've had it for over 12 years now. But the point being, it's still a return on your investment. It's just a different way to look at things. It's just different. So start to look at that from that perspective. Simplify your life, make a garden, get the potted plant that you have that has the your garden tower.
The tower? Yeah,
that's a fantastic thing. I mean, it's like, start to become practical. I know that this is not necessarily what people want to hear, but it's about preparing yourself for the truth of what's happening. The standard of living is coming down, and there is a war, I hate to say it, against the middle class, the upper middle class, and now you're going to see it reach into higher levels. That's what the IRS agents are now. That's what the new law that they passed for 87,000 new IRS agents is now. It's going to start hitting in the higher brackets to start to bring down that standard of living. So there's a couple things, like I say, become very practical, do have a budget. It's hard for us to have that. And if anybody's in my age bracket, I'm 58, okay, and look, I came out of college and I had every opportunity in the world, literally. And that's changing. So it's about a mindset. Part of that too, Laurie, goes back to healing the fear, healing that aspect of you that goes into fear of lack. Okay. I don't mean to say this, but this is really important. Again, going back to what I did in 2012, the message was, it is about our own interior healing, about raising our vibration. And so frankly, what's the worst thing? So our standard of living comes down. As long as we have our basic needs met, that's good. I question whether we'll even be able to have that down the pike, which is why I feel like moving into that love frequency is a real important thing for us as a society, as a collective consciousness. So I know this is so different than how most economists would ever talk, but this is the reality of what I see. In terms of, if you are and do have an ability to invest, you know, I'm always big on something that provides you cash flow. Do you have the opportunity to create your own business, create your own niche? I'm a big believer in investing in yourself, in your own business. I have 4 businesses, okay? I'm always reinvesting in, even though I have the major firm, I'm always reinvesting in myself and my next creation. And if you have that, there's simple things now. There's Etsy, there's ways that you can make money now. And I mean to say this, like, artificial intelligence, okay, I don't like it, I'm afraid of it. At the same time, you can use those GPTs to actually enhance your business and come up with business ideas. You can say, what's the hottest new business to do that costs very little money? And it's going to tell you where the demand is. Does that make sense? That's something you can do to help yourself.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? So that's a sort of an AI that's in our populace, but it's not a negative AI, you're saying.
Yeah, it's not a negative aspect of the AI. So, you know, while I don't like AI where I think it can go, I also think there's, you know, it's here and there's benefits. And something you have to understand, it's growing faster. It's getting adoption much faster than the internet did. So it is a place that you can, you know, again, invest in yourself, invest in your own. If you have a good business idea, maybe check it out with some friends, but, you know, check that, you know, you can enhance your business that way. Go ahead.
Know, and here's the question I think a lot of people have is that it's difficult to know what to invest in because our world is changing so much. Look at the last few years. It has just done 180, right? The way we used to do business. I've been in business over 28 years now. The way I used to do it is very different. Everything's moved to the internet, you know, and such. And so it's hard for us to understand what exactly to put our time, invest our actual, you know, person into to create something more tangible. You know, like when you say, what's the new business? Well, what's it going to look like 10 years from now? This is shifting so dramatically. Very hard to figure out what, I mean, there have been people that have speculated where we're going into, but what's your thought on that? What's your take on that?
Okay, so I just want to also mention this, like, you know, because it is about our basic needs. If you have a business that is about your basic needs, that's great. If you have a business on helping people raise their consciousness, that's great, because these are long-term trends that I actually see, you know, and I'm not going to speak to Bob, but I'm going to, you know, he offers this housing that's potentially very inexpensive. This, like, you know, mobile home parks, for example, about 5 or 6 years ago, I had a gentleman come to me who was in a ton of commercial real estate. He said, where would you be right now? I said, mobile home parks, because those who have are going to have more. Those who don't are going to have less. They need a home. And he did it, and he's making a fortune, you know? So it's think like that, you guys. I don't mean to look at, in the end, in the end, and I did write this in 2012, it isn't going to be about money. It isn't going to be about what we're making. It's going to be about how we come together, how we raise our consciousness and coming home to love, because that is the only thing that's going to save us, literally, in the end. It really, in my opinion, this is me, you know, I manage money, I have an investment company, but this is where I stand at this time. So, you know, think that through, like, what are the basic necessities and how could you, you know, I want to say capitalize or make money on something like that, or make a business, make a living on that. So that's a general feeling I have there.
Okay. I know a couple other thoughts here that people have been raising question to. Can you talk to us about, you know, the investment into gold and silver and other precious metals? We know the future, no matter what happens in our future, there are certain precious metals that are necessary to take us into our future. You know, we know that we're shifting in technology rapidly. And so there are things that are, you know, these precious metals that will be utilized, you know, in our future. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Okay. So let's speak to gold first, because I think that's most important. So remember that, and it's really important historically that people understand that. By the way, I do want to talk about the US dollar too in a moment, but that'll dovetail into that in a moment. But you have to understand that we were on the gold standard as a world for many, like hundreds of years. And it wasn't until the 70s when we went from the gold standard into the dollar standard. I'll talk about that later. But let's talk about what's happening with gold right now. So one of the things that I look at is what are countries doing? And when you look at central banks around the globe, they are accumulating gold at a very rapid pace, at a record pace. So when you see that, that tells me something's going on. Now I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay, because I want to show you how I look at certain things. So hold on, let me get to it. And here's screen. And let's see, here's my show all windows. No, I don't have that open. Bear with me. Get some things.
Especially when you're not used to running, you know, technology, right?
I'm really good with technology, but the thing is, I mean, it's not I don't love it, but
yeah.
I actually have to do a lot of these. So hold on, just let me get to I just want to make sure I get to my correct screen because I want to be very specific what I show you. Oh, okay, here we go. Let's see, there it is. I'm so happy to hear this conversation. It completely aligns with what I've been receiving guidance. Okay, I love that. I love helping.
I think
we're so happy.
I think we're all in this consciousness, you know, and we're all hearing it in different ways. Yeah,
perfect. You can see my screen?
Yeah.
Everyone? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, let me get to this. Okay. See if I can share this. Put this up here. Okay, so this is the price of gold right here. This is represented. I only have it going back to 2009. Let me see if I have another chart that goes back a bit further. Yeah, I have it to 2005. So this is the price of gold right here. And you can see this is since 2005. I wish I had a longer chart because you can see that it did spike after 9/11. But you see these peaks right here? Okay, that's the price.
Wow.
We are very close to getting to an all-time high in gold. Very close. What this chart tells me If I can see it break above these three lines, these three peaks, it would be a very powerful move to the upside. Okay. So I always look at everything. I look at everything from three perspectives. I look at it from this charting perspective. I look at it from a fundamental perspective. So I'm saying, like I said to you guys, that there's massive accumulation of gold with a lot of central banks like India, China, a lot of central banks around the globe, especially the emerging economies, are accumulating gold in a very large way. And then the third perspective is, what do I see intuitively? This is actually how I do all of my work. Okay. It's those three. And also there's one last piece, which is called the risk indicators. And that's a whole other conversation someday that I can show everyone, that these risk indicators can very accurately predict, like they predicted the financial crisis, and it got me out long before it happened because they predicted it beautifully, these risk indicators. But what this shows you is these three peaks here. If we break above these three peaks, then that says to me that it's extremely bullish. It's an extremely bullish chart. And also I tend to be pretty constructive on gold, because see these green lines here? This shows me that there's massive accumulation by larger investors. So that shows that more people are interested in this particular investment. Okay. So I always like to watch volume. And then I'm sorry, I'm just kind of flipping between different time frames here. Okay. And then these peaks right here are very interesting to me. So to answer your question, there are going to be certain areas that I think, yes, you know, when I look at gold, this is silver. So you can see silver isn't quite as constructive as gold right now. And when you actually look at the central banks, they're not accumulating silver, they're accumulating gold. Okay. So that's going to make me more interested in gold than it's going to make me more interested in silver, because I see what's happening fundamentally. I see what's happening. So let me talk a little bit about what I see intuitively, as well as what I, not just intuitively, but also what I see just actually happening. So I think it was in, this isn't intuitive. This is just something that actually occurred. I think it was approximately 3 years ago. Many of the all the emerging economies got together: Brazil, India, China, Russia, you know, some of the smaller Asian countries, smaller Latin, South American countries got together, and they created their own World Bank. Okay. They created their own World Bank. Now, to me, that was the beginning. Now, I've had a long-term, well over a decade thesis that the dollar will not be the reserve currency. Will not. Okay. And I can get into that later, but that's the underlying. When they created this World Bank, I said, we're getting closer to a new basket. New basket of potential currencies. I don't know what's going to replace it, but that to me was the beginning of some muscle flexing. Okay. Now, what transpired since, now you have to understand that the dollar is deemed the petrodollar. Because in 1970, somewhere around there, we moved from the gold standard into the dollar standard. And what that meant was the dollar was the primary currency that was traded around the globe. So if I was Belgium and I wanted oil, I had to take my Belgian francs, now euro, but Belgian francs, convert them into the dollar and go buy the currency. I just want to make sure that Pascal's not locked out. Okay. And then go buy the currency, go buy the Saudi Arabian oil. So I had to go from francs to dollars to Saudi Arabian oil. Okay. So what we are seeing now, and I think we're all noticing this since we went to war, now Saudi Arabia, many countries are trading outside of the US dollar. Now, keep in mind, we have been the muscle and we're losing that status. We're losing the status as a reserve currency. Less and less countries are enamored with our currency. Now, what that means is, keep in mind, again, most trade is getting done in US dollar. Now, when these emerging markets created this World Bank, I'll get back to the point, when they created this World Bank, that's when they really started to accumulate gold. So the question I have is, are they going to go back to gold standard? Is there going to be a basket of currencies that will now become the standard and gold will be part of that? Or is each country going to become isolationists, which is the other possibility? That makes sense, okay? When you're a difficult time. Regardless of what comes from that, what I know is if we move away from the dollar, and you have to remember, everything is about supply and demand. So if there's less countries demanding the US dollar, there's more supply. And what happens when there's more supply? What happens to the price of anything that's supply? No, a lot of supply. Like, I can't sell this computer. This phone I can't sell it. I have so many of these on my shelf. What happens to the price?
It goes down.
It goes down.
Right.
So the value of the dollar conceivably can go down. We are a very large import country. Import, what, 70% of what we consume here? What happens to the price of when we're importing, when our dollar goes down?
Right. So if our dollar's going down, and I think many people are having a feel for that, if you've got a pulse on what's happening, and the gold is going up, what does that mean for us each individually, personally, when the gold goes up? How does that affect us individually?
Well, I mean, if the dollar goes down, that means that that your prices are going higher automatically and quickly.
Right.
Okay. That also means the standard of living is going down again, right? If the price of gold is going up, well, I can't tell you to buy anything, but you can. There are ETFs that if you want to buy an ETF, it's available to you. You're going to have to weigh out what you want to do with that, if it feels like something you want or don't want, So
is it a good investment then for many people to take a chunk of whatever? Let's just use an example. Somebody
I can't answer that question. I could
we're going to say hypothetically.
I can't even hypothetically. I could just tell you that the case for gold to me is bullish and strong.
Okay.
The case for gold to me, because of the variables that I told you, it's strong.
Okay, so do you think we're going to come to a point where we go to the store and we're going to need a gold coin to be utilized rather than a paper dollar? Let's put it in that.
Good question. I'm not really sure whether it's going to go. That's a good question. I think this is challenging, but I think if the world economy goes to a gold-backed standard, it's going to be a gold-backed standard. It's not necessarily where they're going to be trading in gold. Like you're going to be going to the store with gold. It just means that what you have is going to be valued against the gold. Okay. All right. Yeah. And if things get very bad in this country, which, I'm questioning what's going on in this country. I don't know if, gold might be a smart thing to have if things go haywire, let's say.
Okay.
All right. I hope everybody here understands that I cannot give any specific advice, but I can tell you what I think about what's going on in the world.
Yeah, and that's helpful. We can make our own choices from that, having a basis to work from of understanding, then we can make our own choices. And Bob has a question.
Yes, quick question. Living in the United States versus going abroad, living someplace else. Both are financial investments in your future. What do you recommend?
Okay, so do we live someplace else or do we live here is what you're going to ask, right? Okay, so let me first tell you that I'm married to a Belgian, so I married him a couple of years ago, so I could very easily become a European citizen if I wanted to with him. I think the whole Western world as a whole, doesn't matter whether it's Europe or here in the United States, Australia. Generally speaking, I think the standard of living in all of these places are going down. I also, Bob, I want you to know that when I intuited and channeled this information from 2012, I did look to see if I wanted to live in another country, because of what I saw and what I see and what I know is coming. Unfortunately, it's coming true. Anyway, so I also realized I was born in this country for some particular reason, and I'm not leaving even with all the information I have. So all I know for me is that there's something here that I need to be here for whatever reason. And my husband feels the same way. In terms of being able to go to any other country, certainly there are a lot of countries around the world that will accept and take us in, you know, and there's a lot of open borders now that I've researched. So it's a viable option for anyone who would feel compelled to do that, and not want to weather the storm that I think is coming. I know for me, I have to be here. I don't know why, but I know I have to be. Very clear. So to have the clairvoyance and the knowing and the understanding I've had for so long, and I'm not a fraidy cat, okay, because I'm not afraid of change. So, but yeah.
Well, that's one constant thing, is that we are in change. And so we can't really be afraid of that. We have to move with it. Otherwise, it's going to create a lot more struggle for us. Alexandra, what do you think about digital currency? Let me ask you that. Pros and cons to it. And where do you think it's going? Because it's been around for a little while now. We've all heard of it. We all have some understanding of it. Maybe if you even want to shed a little bit of light for those that may not have that complete understanding of what it really is. And kind of, you know, let's say put all your eggs in that basket, partial eggs in that basket. What's your thought about it?
You put nothing in digital currencies that you're not afraid to lose 100% of. It's the Wild West. Okay. And the question is, you know, there is utility in Ethereum. Ethereum could truly be, it is being used. It's being used for smart contracts. And I do think it has great utility. Again, you know, okay, I want to just say this one thing. When the internet came out in the 90s, there were literally thousands of companies, of which I want to say 90% went bankrupt in the end. Okay. So it's no different here, except the difference is this. The internet, when it was established, was clearly backed by the federal government, by the governments around the globe. By the way, this is what I find really interesting. I want to share this. When it comes down to it, there are certain things that when the governments will come together and they will make happen. Corona, the internet, you know, we can do this for so many other things. We can do this for food, for hunger. We can do this for so many other things, and we can do it like that. So we can have that type of coordination because we've had it before. So with the internet, we had government backing around the globe. With the cryptocurrency, we don't. So we're going to see, we're getting some comments. So I just want to make sure I look at that. But with the cryptocurrencies, we don't have that same type of backing like we did with the government. So you have to pay attention to that, because that's really going to be what helps it have staying power.
Backing of the government then is what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, unfortunately, I mean, that's just the way it is at this time, you know, and so I was an early adopter of cryptocurrencies. I was a big believer of cryptocurrencies, but I'm also concerned about that aspect, because when I look at like the internet, it truly was, you know, back, the government was pushing it. When I look at even like, you know, AI, you know, it's the larger technology companies that are introducing this. And sometimes I think they're an arm of the government.
Mhm.
You know, I think they're pretty close. So.
Yeah, and so, but with digital, my understanding is, or, you know, there's many people that are concerned about the government and world leaders tracking, monitoring, hacking, and deleting currency, you know, and the tracking us. And so some digitals, there it's you have that lack of that. So what do you think about that?
Well, I don't think it's good to track anyone anytime.
no.
I think it's really bad.
Yeah, no,
I
I
just
would
want to
agree
say
with
that,
you.
that scares the hell out of me.
Right. Yeah, no. How to avoid it, I'll say, because, you know, they've got their eyes and ears into everything. So, what's your
Get
thought?
rid of this. So that's my husband. He's so cute.
Oh,
But you get rid of this. You get rid of your technology,
yeah,
like my brother does.
yeah.
He lives off the grid, not because of that, but because he loves living off the grid and has for like decades. I just think the way to do it is not to fall for all the new gadgets that are out there, you know, the watches and the this and the that. I mean, it's really that simple. Go back to basics, right? It was what we talked about earlier. If you really want to be, you know, autonomous,
Mhm.
this is, I think, part of it. We do have some questions here, I think. Hold on. Do you mind if I just
No,
look real
please
quick?
do. Yeah.
Okay, I agree 100% with all this. We need to create alternatives to all systems. Okay, this is for, okay, this just comes from here. Okay, hold on. I thought I had a question here. I'm looking into this as a way to use gold for daily purchases. I can't comment to anything like that. Okay, yeah, there was a question just like, I'm looking into this to buy gold. I'm sorry, I can't.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, sorry about that, Tammy.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about, let's look at, we know there's old money in different countries. People are holding on to very old money and very large sums of it, waiting to be released. Do you have any thoughts about that?
I can tell you this, that's been going on for 3 decades.
Okay.
Been going on, you know, I have to tell you that I'm leery of a lot of this because I've seen a lot of this over 3 decades that I've been in the industry where these, like, for example, I know somebody who owns these German bonds that are supposed to pay and these Israeli bonds that are supposed to pay that he's had for 30 years and it's going to happen any day now, and it doesn't, and he's still holding on to that. And I really am suspicious of all those types of things. And I have to just say, like, in my experience over these 30 years, I've never seen anything like that ever pay out. Now, there is conversation and talk about whether they're going to go to a central system. I definitely think they are. I mean, oh yeah, I think it's already in the making. I think, like, if you have a, you know, PayPal, and by the way, I don't know if everybody here knows, but PayPal is owned, Venmo is owned by PayPal. And about 6 months ago, PayPal, and they got a lot of backlash for this. Maybe you all know this, maybe you don't, but, and they say it was not true, but I'll just put it out here that they were going to hold back money or take money from people who were not, maybe just called bad actors, were like on social media doing things that, you know, was not okay, let's say, you know, and like it's social, like the social credit score garbage, but they got backlash for this. So yeah, I just want to let everybody know that's what that company was going to do, but got a lot of people angry at it and the stock went down. So, but I do want to just say one thing like that. I do think we're going to go in that direction. It would give ultimate control. The truth of the matter is we are already digital. I mean, do you really think the bank holds all the money that you put in there? It's all just digits on the screen, and they can shut things down very quickly, very easily. So that it's, I don't like the thought of going into that whole thing. And I do think and again, slow boiling frogs, right? They've been doing this with us for a very long period of time. They've been digitizing us for a long period of time. And we've been falling for it because why not? This is really simple. This is really easy. Let's make it happen. Venmo. I mean, I love Venmo. I'm not going to lie to you. I love it, but I'm falling into the trap. You know, I'd rather be Venmo than writing a check and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, you know, we're slowly getting acclimated to the new way. And so that when it comes, it's not like a bam, right? It's not like a slam. It's not like a long leap. Does that make sense? Because really, that's really what's been happening to us for a very long period of time.
Yeah, it's been my feeling I mean, since I've been a homeopath, so this is like about 27 years now or so. We understand things in the name of convenience, and we've watched this slow progression into the downfall of the takeover of, you know, the larger corporations and the central, you know, banking and all that, and technology. And just think about boxed food that came in that made it easy for somebody to throw together a meal, but it really was, you know, the end result is it's really not a healthy thing. So after X amount of years, we've come to discover this, you know, all in the name of convenience. And it's not that convenience isn't a good thing, but we really have to weigh out what it is that we're selling ourselves out to for the name of convenience, you know? So I think, you know, that as an undertone to anything, really, it's an eye opener for sure. Yeah, like you say, for sure. Well, if you have any other thoughts that you'd like to share with us, and I know you mentioned that you would also like to do a channeling, and you're going to be channeling the Willows. So we look forward to that also. But if there's anything else you'd like to share, please do.
There's so much more, but I mean, there's so many more themes and so many more things I see, but we can always do another podcast. So
good.
Yeah. Okay. I hope that helped everyone. So I will just get a little bit of. So if you can hold on 1 second, I'm going to get my earphones because I like to just have tones in my ear so everything gets shut out for me. Hold on 1 second.
So I'm going to just try and unmute. Is
my husband home?
So if anybody else has anything that they would like to share, please do in the chat.
I will give the controls back to you.
Okay.
And so that if anyone wants to ask a question while I'm in this channel, feel free. You can just unmute them if they have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me make you the host. Make host. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so Okay, so what I will do is I will come in, usually it depends on them, not me, but generally I come in with a message for the collective of this room. So it's usually has something to do with everyone here. And then I will open it up to individual questions. So you can ask anything you want. They may want to answer it and they may not. So usually they answer everything, and I'm always surprised at the answer because me as a human, I sit here and I say, wow, how would I answer that question? You know, so unfortunately, I don't retain everything, but I retain some of the bigger themes and the more important things. So give me 1 second. I'm going to clear and I'm going to protect the space, and I'll be right with you. Dear ones, we are so glad that you are here with her today. We have been urging for her to speak more often on our behalf. You see, she gets very distracted with life and her job, as she calls it, and often does not listen when we are knocking on her door. She has been very concerned about many of the things that have been happening in your world today, and she sometimes forgets that we are here to help her along the way, and that the more she allows us to come through her, the more answers she will have and the more comfort she will have, as well as those around her. So, dear ones, we know you are all on a quest for good, and we are so happy that you are finding your way to each other. For it has been so long since many of you have been, let's say, separate from each other. We liken it to this. As you were growing as a wee one and as you were maturing, you were like a tall blade of grass sitting in the middle of a pasture all by yourself, because you knew and you understood what life was really all about. And what you found was you were standing alone. And now each of you are starting to see other tall blades of grass coming up alongside you and coming together as a whole in one voice. Do you understand what we are saying to you? It is these forums, it is these types of things that we like to see, so that each of you no longer feel like you are the lone voice speaking reason, if you will, to your fellow brothers and sisters. We know that you are inquisitive and want to know what will come next, dear ones. But what we want you to understand, to continually stay in the present moment. While you want to race ahead and perhaps get ahead of what will come, we want you to continue to focus not what is on the exterior, but what is here within you. And we encourage you to continue to find ways to come together, so you are no longer that one tall blade of grass standing in the field, but there are many others who are joining you in this quest for deeper understandings. We feel your frequency, and what we want you to understand is this. The power you have to stop or change the course of humanity lies within you. And it is very important that you understand that indeed there is a battle between good and bad, or let's say the light and the dark. And we are asking you now to raise your frequency, to work, to continue, to become that beacon of light for others around you, dear ones. To have that courage to stand in your love, in your open heart towards all. This is what will heal humanity. This is what will heal you. Please, dear ones, please ask your questions.
We all have concern for our future financially. And there are many of us that find it difficult to live totally off-grid as we still work and must be amongst others and in the way that we use the internet and such. Can you advise us in this?
You must understand that being together, you are a species that is meant to be together. Connection is so important for all of you. We don't want isolation. And to answer your question, dear one, it is about, how do we say this for you? We understand that finances are important for you to make your way in life as it is. But the question is, dear one, how much of that is, and how much of that is what you truly need, and how much of it is excess? And dear one, how much focus goes in that direction, you see? We don't want too much focus in one direction. We want focus in, let's say, balance, if you will. So no, it is not about being isolated, dear one, or off the grid. This is not what we want for you. And we know you understand that there is plenty for everyone. This is the truth. There is plenty for everyone. And this is the mindset, the heart set that you humans need to move to again, because this will help your next cycle, your next evolution, is that there is plenty for everyone. And we want for you, and we understand that you are a well-rounded, balanced being, but we want the collective to understand that there must be less focus in one direction, but focus in the balance. Does this help you?
Yes. Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yes, we hope so. Please ask your questions. You don't just need to simply ask questions about finance, because that's what she does as a human. You can ask anything to us, please.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have my own company, and I have an opportunity to partner with a new partnering team. I'm questioning as to the direction that I'm going in versus the direction that they want to go in.
Dear one, why is it you would be considering partnering with these beings?
At this point, it's a time of growth, and what they offer is great possibility and great growth in my business.
Dear one, is it matching your value system, if you will, because we do see that there is something off in their value versus your value.
Mhm.
And we don't see you leaping to them and saying, yes, this is a right match for me.
Yeah, that's the
So,
reason for my question.
yes, there is an apprehension in your system, and we want you to follow that intuition, dear one, because we do feel there would be a sense of regret. Your concern might be quite valid.
Mhm.
Do you understand what your concern is?
Yes, I do.
Mm,
Fear.
mm. But what is it you are afraid of?
Um, it will, being led in a direction that I may not want to go into.
You are right on the money, dear.
Mhm.
If you are looking for partners in other ways, you must find one who is in complete frequency with the direction. You want to do something nice for mankind, if you will, for humankind. They may be more interested in the return. Do you
Yes.
understand?
Yes, I do. You
And
nailed it
that
right
will
on.
take you off course.
Mhm.
There will be others that you can meet who would be interested in your altruistic approach. This is not the time for you to be selling yourself. Does this make sense to you?
Yes, it does. Yep.
So please listen to this, because if you stay with your values of what it is you want to create, you will create something beautiful that will be very, let's say, not only will it provide you with what you want in the material world, but it will provide you with a higher sense of elation, a sense of purpose. Does this make sense to you?
Yes.
So
Mhm.
stay with that, dear one, because you have a very beautiful heart that wants to have it all, and you can, dear one. This is not the answer you're looking for. It may have been the easiest one that has presented itself to you, but it is not the one you are looking for. Does this help you?
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Next question, please. Do we have shy ones in the room?
We do, I think. Yeah.
I have a question. Where do I go from here?
Dear one, do tell us what you mean.
I'm selling my house and I haven't received clarity of where I'm living next.
May we ask you why you sold your home?
I've gotten the guidance that it's time to let it go so that I can be free to do my soul's higher purpose.
And what is that for you, dear one?
Traveling, teaching, and filmmaking.
This is a beautiful thing. So what are you worried about, dear one?
Where to put my stuff. Do I need a landing pad, or do I just fly and trust that I will always land someplace? It's whether I buy another house or get a little apartment, or just fly and hope that I can always find a place to stay when I need to find a place to stay. Or do I get an apartment with my daughter?
Oh, dear one, that's the safe route. There is a part of you that is looking for adventure. Let us look into your eyes. Can we see you, dear one? Please look into our eyes.
Okay, how's that?
When we see your field, we see a little girl jumping up and down for joy because finally you feel a sense of freedom, but there is some fear in that freedom.
Mhm.
But there is an elation in your system, dear one.
Mhm.
We suggest that you consider not going back to old patterns of safety, so to speak. There is a higher part of you that understands that there's safety in a different way for you. Do you understand what we're saying? You took great risk to do what you did, but you did it quite fearlessly after you made that choice. Is this not true?
Very much so, yes.
Yes. So, dear one, if we are honest, we see you not with your feet on the ground for too long, if that makes sense to you. In other words, not rooting yourself into materiality. In other words, having that commitment, if you will, to one place. We do see that. Let us not answer this. We want to ask you a question, dear one.
Mm.
If you had your way and you knew that you would have a place to stay wherever you went, without question, what would you choose? To have an apartment with your daughter or to be moving on?
I'm just trusting that wherever I go, I have a place to stay.
If you knew you had a place to stay wherever you went, without a doubt, or you can root down, which one would you pick?
I guess part of it is wanting to make sure that my daughter has a place to live.
Well,
I think I would be okay. I have people all over the world who want me to come and stay with them. Literally just to need a car and a way to get
so
places.
now we're getting down to the truth, dear one, aren't we? We are a caretaker du jour. Let us explain something to you.
Okay.
When you take care of someone too intensely, you are interfering with their life lessons, dear one. You halt their growth to a certain degree. Do you understand what we're saying to you?
Yes, I do.
Is that what you want to do for your beloved daughter? Halt her growth? Or would you prefer that she learns her life experiences so she can find her way to bliss one day?
I hear. It's the 6 months of trying to figure out how to get her to and from school because she doesn't have a driver's license yet.
Mm-hmm. How old is your little one?
She's 21.
Is there a reason you feel very responsible?
Well, yeah. She had several years ago told me she was never going to talk to me again. So I'm actually very happy that our relationship is being healed. And she lost her opportunity to go to the college of her dreams, which she has been accepted back into again. But she's basically been housebound for 3 years, and in her dad's house, and she finally has the opportunity to go to college, but it's a half hour away, and she doesn't have any way to get to and from.
We can understand your dilemma, dear one. But we want you to understand she has some big lessons to learn, as all children her age. Don't underestimate the resourcefulness that comes when someone has to find their independence.
Mhm. I know that for myself.
We understand you do.
Yeah.
What we do want you to do, dear one, is to begin to think and feel your way through this situation. There is not necessarily a wrong answer here. There is only what is in your highest and best. And we
Right.
want you to know that if you are to hold back what's in your highest and best to caretake another, it has its consequence to both the person holding back what's in their highest and best and the one that they are caretaking. Does this make sense?
Mm-hmm.
With that piece of knowledge and understanding, what is in your heart, dear one?
I'm wondering if I get just a I don't know, a docking station or a launching pad, just so there's a place for me to come back to between travels.
That is not a bad idea, dear one. Then you have a place so that you feel secure and you can help her at the same time. But what we don't want for you, dear one, is to halt your life and what you need and desire to take care of another, unless it was a responsibility of yours that you must have. Does this make sense?
Yes, and I don't see that being the issue. It's I told her that it would be my place and she could stay there a couple of days a week, but that it's mine.
Mm-hmm. But if you are floating around the globe, then that doesn't matter much, does it, dear one?
No.
Okay. Can you sit with this, the information we've given you, and find your way through?
Yes.
You think you know what you need to do, isn't that true?
No, that's why I'm asking. I need a
You
second
know
opinion.
what you want to do, dear one. You are playing. You know what it is you want.
Yeah, I want to fly.
Exactly. And it is your, let's say, call it guilt, perhaps, that sense of responsibility, that caretaker to another, to hold yourself back.
Okay.
Now, understand, if you were the type that floated out all the time and wasn't grounded for a period of time, then we'd say you better ground yourself. But this is not the case with you. Does this make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you have been grounded long enough. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
About 30 years.
right. There's density in your system. Now, we are not saying that flying around the globe and going everywhere is going to necessarily heal you, but it is going to help you in your healing journey. It is going to help you, let's say, find greater peace within yourself through some of the trials you may experience in those travels. Does this make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit
Yeah,
exciting, is it not?
it is. I'm kind of a travel virgin, so I'm a little
Yeah,
nervous.
so it's time, don't you think? Don't you think?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, then. What are you waiting for? You can do this. Perhaps get that one room place, like you said, so you have a landing pad and a place for your daughter to help her out. But you must fly.
Okay.
This is what we see for you.
Okay,
But of
thank
course,
you.
it is all up to you. It is all free will. But we think this will do your heart some good. You will learn a lot in that time. Density is holding you down, and your body is really wanting something different. This makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, while you're on your journey, perhaps some Kundalini breath work will do you some good to help bring you up into the higher chakra systems.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, dear one. Next question.
I have a question.
Yes, dear one.
Hi. I've been involved in several investments over the last few years, and they have frozen and been held back by, whatever the whole system is doing right now. And I am asking you if is it going to start flowing very, very soon?
Dear one, what we see, we are honest, It looks like you were going after fast money. Does this make sense to you?
Could be.
A promise of a higher return, so to speak.
Yes. Yes. That was what was promised. That was what
Right.
was promised. Yes.
Right, and it has not been delivered.
Correct.
I would not hold out great hope, dear one.
Mm.
We are very sorry to say this to you. Sorry, dear one. But it looks like this might not have been the most ethical group that you have been affiliated with. Do you have any contact with these people?
Do I have any, what? I'm sorry?
Contact?
Contact. No, with I have several investments, so I don't know which one you're feeling or you're gravitating to. There was one that I believe that I think they just took and ran with my money,
Yeah,
and I don't have contact with them now.
yeah. We want you to pay attention to the words she said at the beginning of this conversation, that if you see that the return is greater than what is normal, usually there is a catch, there is a risk to it.
Mhm.
And we do think that you might have been tempted in that direction. And we are very sorry to say, but we cannot see that much of what you have done has been on the up and up, if this makes sense to you. Does this make sense?
Yeah, I don't think it's what I've done, it's what they've done.
We don't mean you,
Yeah,
but we're
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We are very sorry. We wish we could see things differently, but we can't. Please.
Do you feel like there is an investment coming through next week? This is with another party.
A new one, dear one?
It's about 15, 16 months old.
That you are already in.
Yes.
How many times have they promised to you in the past?
Have they promised?
That they were coming through?
It's just been delayed because of other people who want to get their hands on it.
Yeah. We cannot see it, dear one.
Okay.
We're very sorry that we can't speak to positive news for you. We hope we are very wrong. Next question, please, if there is one.
Where do you see me going?
In terms of,
My housing. I too wanted to break free.
you want
Go
to
on.
break free? Is
Yeah,
this what you,
be free. Yeah.
yeah. It's very important. We think that there was a time where you felt that money was going to bring you this freedom. But it is an inside job, you know. It is an inside job. So we really want you to begin to find other ways to bring yourself a sense of security and safety that would make you feel free. And what we mean by this is this. It isn't about money or a home or a structure. And we know we were speaking to this other lady about freedom for her, and we mean physical freedom for her. We're not so sure that that's exactly on point for you. We think that you are seeking for something that can't necessarily be found in the world, but within yourself. Do you understand? Where
Yes.
are you? Can you show us? Can we see you, please?
Oh, I'm crying a little bit right now.
I know. We know, dear one, we know. So let us talk a little bit about that heart of yours, shall we? It is okay, dear one.
All right. Can you see me? My house is here. Where's my camera?
We can see you. You can move in.
Maybe that way.
Here you are. Please look into our eyes, dear one. It is okay. We know. Yes, it's okay. You know, it is that longing, you know, that sits inside of you that needs to be touched and understood. And we want this for you, dear one. You see, the tears are the beginning of that opening for you. You see, when you first approached us, it was about what was in the outside world and not what's inside. And if we could make a suggestion for you, dear one, this is where we want you to begin. We can feel your heart. It's so soft and fuzzy and warm. And this is what the world needs to see. And we can see that you're afraid, as all you humans are, to show that into the world. And we want you to know that we can see that, and we are touching, and this medium is touching her heart with your heart to give you the love that you so deeply desire, dear one. Can you take that in? Please, those who are here, if you can put your camera on, bring love into this beautiful woman. Bring love into her. Drink that in, dear one. This beauty you are receiving is equal to the beauty that lives inside of you. This is true. We don't tell lies, dear one. This medium is noting that she has so much energy pulsing through her hands. She has never felt this much energy from this type of healing from anyone. This is true, and this speaks to who you are, dear one. How beautiful is it to hear such loving words about who you are. Indeed, dear one, you are very powerful in your own right. You just don't know that, do you? You need to find that power, dear one, because it lives in you and it wants to be seen in the world. When you allow yourself to take that chance in the world, the way you took the chance with your money, believe us when we tell you, it will come back to you in so many ways. Does this make sense to you, dear one?
Mhm.
Does this make sense?
Yes.
How did it feel, dear one, to receive that love?
Calming.
Say that again.
Calming.
Very calming. So please, dear one, begin to do what you need to do to heal that beautiful, fuzzy, warm heart of yours so that you may begin to turn that love inward and then outward to the world. Does this help you, dear one?
Yes, thank you.
You're very welcome. Are there any more questions?
No, I'm okay right now.
Good.
Thank
Dear
you.
one, you are very welcome. You see, what we want for you is for all of you to stop worrying about the things that are in the material world and know that they will come to you. They will come to you. It is your inner world that matters to us. It is your growth. Remember, we say this always, and we will say it again. While many of you have a life purpose, so to speak, the truth is your true life purpose is the evolution of your own soul. It is your growth. It is your growth for the reason of your birth. You came, you were born for your evolution and growth, the growth of your soul. And by growing and allowing yourself to expand and heal those wounds that were given to you as a gift for your evolution. It is by healing these, dear ones, that you will find your life purpose, so to speak, of how you can serve humanity. But first, you heal you. It was a true pleasure to be with you this evening and to be able to speak through this vessel, through my vessel and my me.
We thank you also.
May you always feel blessed, dear ones. Hi there.
Thank you, Alexandra.
You're welcome.
making
You're very
yourself a
welcome.
vessel for tonight, and we appreciate it. And hopefully those answers are helpful for people to
Mhm,
proceed in their world.
mhm.
Thank
And
you.
Bob, how did it work for you?
Oh, he's not. You've got to unmute,
That's okay.
unmute.
Oops, he's muted again.
There we
Technology. Yes, very, very good. It just gives me another perspective to see something from. You know, sometimes you only see things from your own perspective. Hearing somebody else or something else's perspective on the greater of what I'm trying to do, you know, has always been my goal. And sometimes seeing it from a more selfish perspective, you know, I just have to be careful of that. You know, the easy solution is not always the best solution. Longer term and for the greater good is always the better solution.
Mhm. Yeah, and you know, you might want to contact me directly and see if I might know some people who can help you out.
Great.
Okay, I don't know what you're looking for, but you know what I do for a living, so.
Yes, I do. Very good. Yeah.
Good. Okay, thank you, Laurie and Alexander. I'd
thank
love to
you.
work with Alexander for financial direction. I've been saying for the past few days that I need to find an awake and aware financial advisor. Okay, so if that's the case, you can, I'll just type, can I type it in the chat
Yes,
box? Laurie?
please
Is that
do.
okay?
Yep, that was my last question.
Investwithwillow.com. Alexandra at investwithwillow.com. So you can take that down. Okay. So thank you so much. This
Thank
was a
you.
great pleasure. Yep. Anytime.
We'll do it again.
Okay. Be
Thank
well.
You
Take
as
care.
well. Thank you.
Thank you.